It's the left. It's the left. It's the left. The left, the left, the left, the left. You'd almost think they'd get tired of saying the left. Well, let me tell you how we got a left and a right to begin with. Dates back to the English parliamentary system. And what they had was, they had an aisle down the middle, and the conservatives sat on the right-hand side of the aisle, and the liberals sat on the left-hand side of the aisle. Now these guys all drank tea with each other and stuff. They were friends, you know, but of course they disagreed on things, and they politely discussed them, and then they had tea and wrote the bill up. And they got a lot of things done. And without screaming at each other and calling each other morons and stuff like that. Well, the difference between the views were this. A liberal, the classic real liberal, is somebody who believes that there's a lot of things that are wrong and we ought to just get going on fixing some of this stuff. Why sit around and wait? And the conservative, of his buddy right across the aisle, he says, oh, I don't know. Gee, Mr. Liberal, you know, it sounds like a good idea, but so many things that sound like good ideas have turned out so badly, and I think we ought to be kind of careful about this. And, you know, it's a lot easier to mess things up than it is to fix them. And I think we should proceed very cautiously because really things are pretty good already. Now, those are two perfectly good, honest, sincerely held opinions. And they carried on, and I'm going to skip an awful lot of stuff and then go right up to the early 50s. We'd had 20 years of FDR, who was the liberal at the time, the New Deal and so on. Social Security, Medicare, and a bunch of other things that proceeded to become, once established, sort of icons for the conservatives. And that's not putting the conservatives down to say that, because the conservative, remember, is the guy who says, we ought to be careful, what if something goes wrong? The conservative is the guy that drives a little bit slower to make sure that he doesn't slip and go off the road on the curve. But once he's gotten around the curve and everything's okay, well, then he can be an enthusiast for the destination. He just didn't want to take any stupid chances getting there. And he's a be safe, don't be sorry kind of guy. So, when Eisenhower came along, he said, you know, I'm not gonna tear apart, you know, the whole job that Roosevelt did. Why, you know, that doesn't make any sense. And so he set about to preserve what was there and good, and to not to add too much stuff to it. He wasn't going to go on and off with it. He was just going to kind of keep all these good ideas working. They called that no dismantling, no great expansion. And Eisenhower said in a letter to his brother, should any political party attempt to abolish Social Security insurance, Social Security, unemployment insurance, and eliminate labor laws and farm programs, you would not hear of that party again in our political history. There is a tiny splinter group, of course, that believes you can do those things. Among them are a few other Texas oil millionaires and an occasional politician or businessman from other areas. Their number is negligible, and they are stupid. Remember, that's Eisenhower. They wanted tax cuts, but Eisenhower said, no, I'm going to balance the budget. which he did 3 times during his term in. He was a good president. Much better. I think we think of him as a guy that played golf all the time. No, he really he didn't do a lot, but what he did was pretty right on. So that's the as of the early 50s, which is what is that, 70 years ago? Close to it, more than 60. That was the difference between the conservatives and the liberals. Then now you've got people that call themselves conservatives who actually are reckless. They're not at all play it safe type people, and they're out to make some major changes. A good part of what's changed the political landscape in that time have been a couple of really bad United States Supreme Court decisions. They're up there with Brown versus Board of Education, or what's the other one? The fugitive slave thing. Dred Scott. Just terrible decisions. Buckley versus Vallejo, which says that money is speech, and Citizens United against the Election Reform Bureau, or whatever they were, which says that dark money is okay, and you can have as much as you want because it's not the candidate spending it, even though of course everybody knows that the people that are spending it are getting their marching orders from the candidate, but that little link there they keep secret, sort of. I mean, everyone knows they're doing it, but you'd actually have to catch them doing it. You'd have to get them on tape. And so what those two decisions mean between them is that corporations can determine who gets elected, and that is our problem. Now, as far as the liberal versus conservative thing, there's this standard thing that various people that called themselves conservatives have sold over and over again, and that's this business where they say that the liberals have changed everything. The liberal media, which belongs to corporations, liberal this, leftist that, has really messed this country up. Yabba, 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 yabba. And what is the reality? It is that the leftists, FDR, the New Dealers, made a change. And the right wing came along, the moderate right wing, but the solid base of the Republican Party at that time, Eisenhower, led the Allies to victory in World War II under the directions of the liberal that he was replacing. Truman was in between, but you know what I'm saying. And so along comes Eisenhower, and he makes some small changes. But that's because these two guys were really not very far apart. That was the liberal and the conservative. They were both sensible people who had the good of the country in mind. And that's not true of these big corporations, of course. So you're neoconservative now. They don't like that name because people smirk when they say it. And I don't know why they shouldn't smirk when they say it. It's kind of an example of conservatism that's not really conservative at all. They are claiming that the country is going to hell and it's become halfway to communism, and the liberals want to take their rights away from them. Yeah, right. The same liberals that were that in Nixon and Johnson's time marched with Martin Luther King and rode Freedom Riders riding on the buses and all that kind of stuff. The same liberals that are still liberal today. We didn't change. We're still basically the New Deal. Same old thing. Just give everybody a chance. It's really all the liberals wanted. But the neocons want to explain that everything is the left's fault, and the left is going to crash and burn and destroy itself, according to some of these wackos, because it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier, meaning, I guess, because our political views range from the left side of liberal with Truman to the middle of liberal with FDR, and the right edge of liberal with Eisenhower, which used to be already being the conservatives, but today Eisenhower would be considered a leftist. He'd be a bad guy to these people. And they say the liberals are well, they brought in the social justice warriors and third wave feminism, whatever that is. It's apparently feminism, like at the beginning, was pretty nutty, but there was, no, I'm not talking about suffrage, right? I'm talking about, the feminism like of the 70s. It was pretty nutty. It didn't really make a whole heck of a lot of sense, but it wasn't just, impossible to take. And that was like when they were still trying to tell us there was a wage gap and a glass ceiling and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a second wave, and then a third wave of feminism. And I don't know what this third wave of feminism is, but there's these women that, for some reason, most of them are really fat, just these huge balls of lard, and they only have one expression in their voice, and that's screaming. And everything is the fault of the patriarchy, and the patriarchy, whatever the patriarchy is, and whoever they are. I don't know who they are. I'm supposedly one of them without even realizing the flaws. That's not liberal. That's not even leftist. That's lunacy. Those are people that belong in an asylum. Social justice warriors, the same thing. They don't want social justice. I don't know what they want, but it's totally incompatible with any reasonable, respectable American point of view, off from the radical left to the practically jackbooted right. I mean, those people are weird. And then you got like Black Lives Matter, and they say, well, we're going to throw all the white people off the college campus. And, could you just imagine what Martin Luther King would say about that? These are my friends, you dumb shits. Do you think you would have ever gotten your rights without the white liberals? Because you wouldn't, pal. It would not have happened. So, that's just three different of these kind of lunatics, and there's people that think that there's dozens of genders and all kinds of sicko stuff. I don't even understand what those people are talking about. It's so weird. This, deconstruction and what's the other one that that they talk about. Jordan Peterson's always harping on it's like the philosophy that says that nothing makes any sense. Well, that doesn't make any sense itself. No, we're not responsible for that. That's not the left. So if you want to blame the left for something, blame us for your Social Security. Yeah, because we did that. Blame us for banking laws that were set up to prevent another Great Depression from happening, that have been, a lot of them torn down by the politicians that work for the big corporations. On the conservative side, they've got their same weirdos. They've got skinheads and neo-Nazis and people like the Aryan Brotherhood and creepy crawly people with no teeth from up in the hills with their guns that want to kill everybody that's not the same color they are, and don't believe that the world will be safe for Christianity until they kill all the Jews and all this kind of stuff. Well, hey man, I'm not blaming Tucker Carlson for those people, and Tucker ought not to blame me, and I don't think he would if I was really here face to face with him. He ought not to blame me for the SJWs and all them. And I think it's the fact that we no longer have a reasonable defining point between the left and the right that makes us just no longer able to talk things out and work them out. The Affordable Care Act, I guess, wasn't much good, but it was a starting point. The Republicans could have what they really should have done is jumped on their high horse and their white horse, and rode in and said, we're going to bring you national health care like they've got in Canada. And it's a Republican cause because it's going to be cheaper, and so the federal government is going to take all the money that you spent on health insurance, and it's going to take all the money that was in bad debts from people that couldn't afford health insurance and got treated anyway. We're going to take all that extra money that's laying around, and we're going to take the pool is going to be everybody in the country, and just like Britain and Canada, we can run that for way less than our current system, and it would work way better because guess what? That's the case already in like 70 countries. This isn't something that's never been tried, Puppies could come up with that and say, hey, look, we did this.